Facebook has done it again, finding itself in the news instead of just disseminating it. 2 weeks ago, we told you Facebook was under fire for accusations it might try to derail Donald Trump's presidential bid. This week, a former employee took it a step further, disclosing a troubling editorial practice.
It seems that those trending news stories you see on your Facebook page might not be so trending after all, but rather made to look like trends by Facebook itself. This week, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg had to play defense, deflecting accusations that his site likes the idea of manipulating public opinion.
CEO Mark Zuckerberg is defending his company against accusations of political bias.
The bombshell, a former staffer's disclosure that Facebook kept stories with a conservative slant off their trending section. Zuckerberg says he will now meet with conservatives to allay their concerns, adding in a post, "We are committed to building a platform for all ideas." Words that might be too little too late for some in Congress.
We want to make sure that we're protecting consumers' rights and that businesses aren't, in fact, engaging in any kind of deceptive practice.
Because that would be a very bad trend.
All right, I'm going to start this off by being contrary to my own piece, which is, how is this any different from what the mainstream media, the newscasts, CBS, NBC, ABC do every single night? They winnow it down to a half an hour. They focus on the stories they want to do. I mean, I remember when I was at ABC, they would only get a conservative voice when it was Rush Limbaugh, or they just needed a soundbite to counter what they truly believed. So the fact that Mark Zuckerberg is doing that too, how's it any different?
I will tell you how it's different. Facebook presented this as though, and by the way, I should say they were never completely explicit about it, but they presented it as though this were like the most emailed list on a news site, that this was an objective count of this is what people are sharing, this is what people are talking about, and in fact, it's an edited list. And I was actually kind of stunned to find out that it was not based on the numbers. That now, if they had said editors' picks, there wouldn't have been a problem. The other thing that I didn't like finding out was that, in fact, the trending list is also personalized.
It's different for every person.
It's different for every person. I thought this was a real count, and that this was one of the very few places you could go on Facebook where it wasn't being tailored to what
totally
they thought your
tailored. Every
interests
person
were.
in our newsroom had a different one.
So, I mean, they can do what they want, but I'd like to see them disclose, and now they're being forced to disclose.
Well, it's also different because Facebook's reach dwarfs anything that the world has ever known, for starters. Although, I'm sorry, I still have trouble taking them seriously as long as that clown refuses to put on a shirt with a collar. What is the story? It gets cold in Palo Alto. I don't get it.
It's a great
anyway,
T-shirt.
That's a sidetrack here. But what's really troubling about this is it reminds me of their earlier scandal about how they were experimenting with how to manipulate your mood. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Because not only were they excluding hot conservative comments or stories that might be of interest, apparently or allegedly for ideological reasons, they were also promoting stories that they, again, through this filter, of whatever it was, that they didn't feel were getting enough traction. So they're setting themselves up as God, as news gods. And you got to be careful with that.
Dan, go ahead, Kelly.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, Dan makes a really good point that it never was really explicitly stated that this was an ideologically neutral and wholly mathematical process they were engaged in. But you're right, they cultivated that assumption over time. And I think I had the exact same assumption you did. This is based on an algorithm, has nothing to do with political preference. And in a way, that sort of embodies the whole Facebook experience writ large. I mean, we've become slowly but steadily dependent on this to the point where it's almost like another public utility, and now we're so enmeshed in it that we can't get out. It's kind of terrifying and sort of a horrible cautionary tale for what humans will do. I don't know if I buy your argument that if they said it was editors' picks only, that there wouldn't have been a backlash. I think there still would have been, because there's always been a pretense of ideological neutrality when it comes to Facebook, unlike the classic media outlets you were talking about.
So two things. There probably still would have been a backlash, as you said, to editors' picks, but it would have been clear that it's editors' picks. So you can still backlash and say, hey, editors, the only thing you ever put up here are X. The only reason that anybody should be engaged in fury about this is the fact that this thing has turned into a news dissemination outlet now. It was a social media outlet and now has become, certainly in my life with my friends, not for me, I hate Facebook, it has become a whole thing of where people get their primary news. So you start thinking about them adjusting what they think that you should want to pay attention to. And guess what, Facebook? Even though I'm not on it and reading it and I hate you, I would like to know everything that is going on. I don't want you telling me from your filter unless you tell me these are our picks. Now here's the other list of everything that's going on. Okay, maybe I can work with you.
And news organizations have been really eager to make that happen, right? Because we're also panicked about, how are we going to get our content out? Let's hop on this new thing and use it to our advantage. So we've been part of it.
And can I also add, this is none of Congress's damn
No,
business.
that's the other thing.
Right,
No.
right.
Stay
Because
out
you
of
get
that.
That's a First Amendment
go back
issue,
into
yes.
everybody
Yeah.
if you think this is a problem.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you, John.
Yeah.